Hello and welcome to Haslam Practice Field here in Knoxville. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We are with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And it is almost football time in Tennessee. And to kick that off, we had Tennessee's team media days ahead of fall camp. So we got to talk to head coach Josh Heupel, assistant coaches, offensive coordinator Joey Halzle, and defensive coordinator Tim Banks, along with a handful of players. So to start off, Noah, what was the biggest takeaway you had from what Josh Heupel had to say?
I think it was, he got a lot of questions today about this staff. We're entering the third fall camp under this staff. Obviously, you have the successes of last year coming in. You bring some very important pieces back from that team. But one thing that was talked about a lot today was being able to retain assistant coaches. Obviously, you're bringing in a guy now that's a first-year offensive coordinator in Joey Halzle, but he's a guy that was the quarterback's coach last year. He's been on the staff. Kelsey Pope, a guy they elevated last year to be the receivers coach. He was on the staff previously. They've done a really good job of that. I think that's really big going into this third year. And you can talk about the offense, you can talk about Hendon Hooker, you can talk about the pieces that they've had to be successful. That's as much a credit to their success as anything, is their ability to elevate guys up and not really skip a beat. Because you see that all over college football. I think I was listening to a podcast today. There's 11 coordinator hires in this league, and Tennessee doesn't really have that issue. You're not bringing in a new guy, breaking in a new system. There's a lot of familiarity there, and I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway from today and going into fall camp. Interesting to see, them kind of continue on what they built last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's of course rare to be able to bring back all these different coordinators and assistant coaches and position coaches. But like you said, not only has Josh Heupel brought a lot back, but when he does have to make a replacement, he's bringing in guys that have already been within the program, like Alec Ablin, like Kelsey Pope, who have been within the system, and it seems like it's been a kind of seamless transition. From there, one of the coordinators that is someone that has been brought back over and over year after year is defensive coordinator Tim Banks. So we were able to talk to him. Kind of the biggest takeaway from talking about Tim Banks is he's pretty confident in his defense this year. Of course, that defense was a big reason they won a couple of games last year. When you look at games like Vanderbilt, like Clemson, like Kentucky, like LSU, that defense came in and played really well. Well, a big part of that defense is the defensive front, 2 defensive linemen, and then edge rushers on either side. They bring in a lot of experience in a guy like Omari Thomas, a guy like Tyler Barron, and a guy like Roman Harrison. But one guy that a lot of people were talking about, whether it was Omari Thomas when we talked to players, or whether it was Tim Banks, was Omar Norman Lott, transfer out of Arizona State, says that he's maybe not the size of a typical defensive lineman in the SEC, but he's got speed, he's got a quick first step, and he's going to be a big impact this year for Tennessee. So I thought it was interesting to hear Tim Banks talk very highly of incoming transfer Omar Norman Lott. But now we'll transition to what the players had to say. We had a handful of offensive players, a handful of defensive players. Noah, what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nico Iamaleava, a guy that everybody kind of wants to hear about. There's absolutely no quarterback controversy in Tennessee. That's one thing that's going to be a lot of talking points in this league this week and in the coming weeks as fall camps get started. A lot of eyes are going to be on quarterback battles. That's not an issue at Tennessee. This is Joe Milton's team. But you got to look at the room. You've got 2 scholarship players there in Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava, and then you've got 2 walk-ons. So there may be, Joey Halzle was asked that today, there may be a situation where Nico is called upon. How would he be able to handle that? And Joey Halzle didn't hesitate on it. Now, I know a lot of coaches are going to pay lip service to their confidence in a player. He did not hesitate in saying that they're very confident in his ability to handle himself. Obviously, him being able to come in here for bowl practices in December, go through the spring really helps a lot with that. But his demeanor is something that I think guys have fed off of. Joey Halzle talked about that today. I asked Nico about it in the player portion, and he said he's always been that way. That's something when he was a kid, he played that way, and it's kind of just carried over, and it just seemed very genuine. And the way he talked about it and the way the coaches talked about it, they feel really good about if he is needed in a situation, whether it be an injury or whatever, that he would be able to step in and kind of take over. And I think being in the program for the last 7 months or so is really helping that.
Yeah, a lot of confidence, not just from Nico himself, but from the players around him and the coaching staff around him. But as you said, I think it's really interesting that he comes in as a freshman, one of the highest rated freshmen in the country, and he's not like, get me on the field freshman year, I need to make an impact now. He's ready to sit back, learn from Joe Milton, get used to Tennessee, get used to the college game before he takes the reins of this offense and hopefully leads Tennessee to some more good seasons in the future. I'm going to stick on the offensive side for my player takeaway, and I'm going to go to one of the targets that Nico might get very familiar with in his career at Tennessee, and that's sophomore Squirrel White. We were able to talk to him and a couple of other players, and when you talk to the other players, an answer from Tamarian McDonald, hey, who's a guy that it's been tough to guard him maybe, Squirrel White is the answer just because of his blazing speed in the slot position. Should be a guy that can come in, whether it's him or Dante starting at the slot position, at the wide receiver. Both of them are going to see a lot of play time, and Squirrel White seems to be in a position to make a big impact. And I asked Squirrel White about his connection with Joe Milton. Hey, does that reps on the second team you got last year in preparation for this year help? And he said, yeah, of course. You know, you get used to a guy, you get used to catching, and you build that connection, and it's going to help you going forward. So Squirrel White and Nico, kind of the future of Tennessee, two guys we were able to talk to today that gave good answers, and their guys around them also sung their praises. That'll do it from us here in Knoxville. Stay tuned all week. We'll have video content and written content over at VolReport.com as fall camp kicks off tomorrow and Tennessee football begins their regular season on September 2nd in Nashville against Virginia. Thank you.